Hey everyone, it's Dr. Meyer here with a video for you on Sonata Form. This video will contain a brief overview of Sonata Form, and we will go into greater detail together in class. Let's get started. Have you ever heard other musicians talking about Sonata Form and wondered, what is it? Well, it's a well-established formal process that began around the 17th century, or the classical era, and persists today. We'll mostly concern ourselves with common practice era composers like Haydn, Mozart, Beethoven, as many of their works are in sonata form. We can find this formal process used in all instrumental genres, and not usually in vocal pieces. We can find sonata form being utilized as the first movement of many of these instrumental sonatas, symphonies, and string quartets. In fact, it occurs so often as the first movement of these works that it's sometimes called sonata allegro form, because the first movements are usually fast or allegro in tempo. However, the form can be found in other movements as well, not always the first one. How did sonata form come into being? Well, another small formal design called rounded binary was expanded into three larger sections. Continuous rounded binary features a modulation to a B section key area and a truncated return of the A section material. In this way, sonata form is an expansion of this idea, which features three large sections known as the exposition, development, and recapitulation. The exposition begins the piece by presenting the thematic material of the movement. The themes are in two related key areas. Here is an example of thematic material from Mozart's Symphony No. 40, first movement. The development takes the thematic material and develops it by manipulating the original through key changes, sequences, and fragmentation. Listen to how Mozart develops the theme from the exposition in his development. Finally, the recapitulation has a return to the themes from the exposition, but this time without the key change to the related key, so all of the themes are in tonic. Here's the beginning of Mozart's recapitulation. Let's get a little more specific about each of the larger sections. The exposition has a few themes which have specific function and key areas. The primary theme, or the main theme, is at the beginning of the piece and is in the original tonic key area. Then, a transition section facilitates a modulation to the secondary theme key area, which is generally the dominant if you've begun in major mode, and the relative major if you've begun in minor mode. The secondary theme, or themes, are often very contrasting with the primary theme and give the exposition multiple characters to listen to. Finally, the exposition ends with a closing theme. This theme generally celebrates the new key area and doesn't have much melodic interest as the other themes in the exposition. Let's hear through some of Haydn's Piano Sonata in D major's exposition. The primary theme is a cheery and bright up-tempo D major theme. This theme is followed by a transition, which leads to A major, the dominant of D major. The secondary theme has a lighter and more ornamented character, now in A major. The new key of A major is confirmed with the closing theme, which has a lot of 5-to-1 motion in the harmony. The development of the sonata form is the heart of the musical drama. Here, the themes from the exposition are modified and developed through key changes, and not always to related key areas either. The farther away the modulation, the more drama. The themes are fragmented and manipulated and are sometimes almost unrecognizable. Finally, when the drama cools down, the development section reaches an extended prolongation on the dominant of the original tonic, and we call this a retransition. In the Haydn example, we would expect this to fixate on A major, which is the dominant of our original D major key. Listen to a little bit of Haydn's developmental section. The last and final section comes with a repetition of the themes from the exposition, but this time they are in the original tonic. You can often look at the beginning of the piece and the recapitulation and find an exact restatement of the primary theme, so I've omitted that here. However, the transition does not need to modulate, and thus will sound different than in the exposition. Listen. Notice how it cadences on a half cadence in D major? Well, the secondary theme is also in tonic and has the same motivic material, just transposed down a fifth. Here's the secondary theme. Lastly, the closing theme is now confirming and celebrating the original tonic of D major. Have a listen. The recapitulation is often an exact restatement of the themes, but reflecting the modulation. However, sometimes composers will get creative in the recapitulation, and it's our job as analysts to spot any differences that might occur. Now it's your turn to practice. Click the links below the video to find the score and the audio for Mozart's Piano Sonata in C major. Make a note of each of the larger sections, exposition, development, and recapitulation, as well as the smaller sections, if you can, in each of the larger sections by measure number. Pause the video now as you work. You should have found the exposition from measures 1 to 38. The development from 39 to 57, and the recapitulation from 58 to 100. I hope you noticed that the recapitulation isn't exactly the same as the exposition, as Mozart did some clever combining of the main theme and transition in the recapitulation. Also, he did some extending of both the secondary and closing themes. Try listening to more first movement piano sonatas by Haydn, Mozart, and Beethoven to practice analyzing sonata form. What did you learn about sonata form? Well, it's an important formal process which thematic materials are introduced, developed, and reimagined. We can find it in the classical period mostly, in the music of Haydn, Mozart, and Beethoven. I've mentioned that it can be found in the first movement of many sonatas, symphonies, and string quartets, so there's a lot of music out there to listen to and analyze for sonata form. Remember the three large sections, exposition, development, and recapitulation, and that this formal process is driven by key area interactions and thematic development. Recall that this video is just an overview and know that we will discuss sonata form in more detail in our class together. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.